wherever you join us from today. My name is David, and you're welcome to today's episode. I know that it's going to be a fantastic one because, we had to do this again, and we have someone so skilled, an expert in our midst today, and she's going to facilitate today's session. So we're going to talk about everything regarding insurance, and she will do justice to that. And before I bring her up, I'm just going to read a part of our bio. I'm sure she will do that, but I just have to do that. That is our welcome all our facilitators. Okay, so I'm the founder of DOBAC, and DOBAC is a community, we are people to adding value and also ensuring that you find your feet, wherever you are, and also you getting the right information at the right time as an aspiring business analyst or a professional, in your field. Okay, so today I have Risi Agbaje. Risi Agbaje is a senior business analyst, a BA coach and mentor, and she's also founder of InsightEdge. Okay, certified BA, IIBA-CCBA with 10 years of experience, leading change and transformation in financial services and specialty insurance. So, InsightEdge, she's a specialist business analysis training and an organization, okay, training institute empowering professionals through practical reward learning. All right. So she's analysis coach, BA analysis coach and mentor, dedicated to developing the next generation of impactful BAs. Expertise in Agile and Waterfall delivery, regulatory compliance, delegated authority, and system integration, Salesforce, Guidewire, VIPR Intrali, known for simplifying complexity here and also fostering stakeholder collaboration and aligning solutions with strategic business goals. So, without wasting time, I'll bring up Funke. I call her Funke, but I'm sure she's gonna clarify that. Anyways, I call her Funke. So, we're happy to have you here, Funke, and you can. The floor is all yours. Please go on.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everyone. I will be going through my slides in a minute, but I think David has basically done justice to the introduction, basically, and all of that. So I'm just going to share my screen, and then we can start, basically.
Okay. Please confirm you can share the screen.
Yeah. Are you able to view my screen? You confirm you can see that?
Not yet. It's still coming up. Yes.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. So I'm not able to, I'm just using one screen. So I'm not able to, if you have any questions, I think David will help with that aspect of helping me to kind of like reading out the questions. But I always say, if you have questions, don't wait till the end, ask right there and then we can basically just start. So I will start with a bit of what I'm looking at sharing today. I know we've just got about an hour, 15 minutes left. And so I've got quite a bit of slides. I'm just going to kind of rush things through. But if you have questions or need clarification, please stop me and then I can, I can answer your questions. So I am going to be looking at business analysis life cycle, particularly from a UK insurance point of view. So looking at it from a discovery all the way to delivery across both personal and commercial insurance. A bit of which David has done, introduction about myself. I'm a certified consultant, business analyst. So I work with a consulting firm that basically focuses on financial services, which also includes insurance. I've been there for about going on 4 years now. Certified IIBA. I've got I'm a business analyst, as you're aware. I've got a background. My degree is in computer science from the University of Greenwich. I've got over a decade of experience, going on to about 15 years now, working as a business analyst within the financial sector. So banking, I've worked in banks, I've worked in insurance. But over the last 4 years, there are about 4 or 5 years, I have insurance space, basically. So I've worked across the personal and commercial part. So what I like to do is to start off by giving an introduction into the UK insurance structure, how it works, basically. Like I said, I'm going to be, breezing through this. So we need to understand what the insurance market like.
Okay.
Yes.
Your screen is still, you're showing us business analysis life cycle in the UK insurance sector.
Okay. Bear with me. I will try and reshare again.
Thank you.
Okay. Apologies.
No worries at all. I feel your profile is more robust from your own end than what I said, so I would like them to see that as well.
Okay, so we will start this again. Okay. Are we good? Can you confirm you can see my profile now?
All good.
Fantastic. Apologies for that. Okay. As David rightly said, I have a training institute for business analysts. So people looking to kind of come into, do like a career switch, or even those that are already in and that kind of like struggling in mentoring or training and things like that. I do that as well. So going into the structure for the insurance market. So this is very key that we understand before we then basically, go into, I want to believe that some of us have an idea of, the business analysis life cycle. So in the UK, the insurance market is quite big. When you look at the personal insurance, we're looking at about 36.17 billion in terms of the gross gross written premium. And from a commercial aspect, we're looking at 37.51 billion as well. So it is the UK is the 4th largest globally and largest in Europe. So if you look at the general insurance in terms of the gross premium written is about 122 billion rather pounds, which is split across. And then so you've got the personal insurance, you've got commercial insurance, and then you have things like life and pension, reinsurance segments, and things like that. And when you look at it from a business analysis point of view, you have to think about the trends. What are the key things that drives changes within the insurance market? So for instance, we look at things like, the digital transformation, new technology, AI, Internet of Things, ESG integration, risk modeling. Also, sometimes it could also be from a point of view of a regulatory point of view. Also, it could also even be like, because of the market dynamics and new innovation in the market, everybody wants to be at par with each other and things like that. So the key players that we know are like, Aviva, Lloyd's, the Zurich, RSA, Admiral, Lloyd's of London, that's Direct Line has now been acquired by Aviva as well, so they're becoming one and things like that. HSBC as well, they do have their own insurance as well. Now, going into detail, I want to talk about the regulatory. So when you look at the insurance landscape in the UK, even in the world, they are highly regulated. And in the UK, there are 3 major, depending on the type of insurance, but majorly you have the FCA, you have the Prudential, and then you have the Lloyd's of London. So FCA and Prudential, regardless of whether or not it's personal or commercial insurance or whatever type of insurance, they are regulated by them. And then when it comes to the Lloyd's of London, that basically applies to the commercial part of insurance, basically. So when I say commercial, so personal insurance, you're looking at when somebody like myself and you decided to buy an insurance, and all of that. But if you're looking at, say, from a commercial, then we're looking at it from an organization point of view, basically. when a company buys. So this basically just looks at the different types of regulation. PRA focuses on things like the supervision of the insurer, ensuring that they are safe, they are sound, and ensuring that those that buy insurance from them are safe as well. Basically, there are different regulations that they have to abide by. These insurance organizations. FCA, basically, Financial Conduct Authority, ensures that the insurer and other financial firms, so not just insurance, they treat the customers fairly. They are promoting market integrity. They basically majorly focus on consumer product and protection and conduct as well. So we have things like GDPR, you have things like consumer duty, and all of that. These organizations have to ensure that they meet. Now, why are these in? Why have I mentioned these regulations? It's because insurance companies need to implement this in their systems, basically, in their businesses, in their processes. They need to ensure that they are meeting the regulation that has been set by this organization. And the Lloyd's of London, basically, it's a syndicate. It's kind of like a marketplace, where people kind of it's like a market where they regulate, insurance by acting as a market regulator. So if you look at the London market, right, they have to ensure that it's regulated. It's like a marketplace, ensuring that the members of the Lloyd's of London are they are following the rules and regulations and all of that. They also provide administrative services as well to their to these members. Now that basically concludes on the regulatory. Basically, so insurance is highly regulated. They have different regulatory organizations, that they, governing bodies that they need to basically follow the regulations and all of that. So if you're looking at it from a project, or rather from a project point of view, regardless of whatever it is, they have to ensure that as long as they are serving people, they have to ensure that these regulations are implemented. And as you know, technology is being used. So what I then I'm going to be looking at now is the life cycle and the customer journeys. So some of them, as majority of the customer journeys, there are regulations that needs to be abided by. But also, we're also then going to be looking at the different types of projects, or the different types of implementation or transformation that takes place within this customer journey. Now, if you look at, I want to read that, but just for the sake of some of us that are kind of like new to business analysis, there's a life cycle. So a lot of times we talk about project life cycles, but people don't kind of think about the business analysis life cycle as well. And it's very important that as you look at the project life cycle, right, what supports the project life cycle is the business analysis life cycle. For you to be successful, regardless of the industry you are in, you have to be thinking about the business. And what are the key things as a business analyst that I need to be engaging in? What are the activities that I need to make sure that I am getting involved in? I am, making sure that it's taking place so that I can be successful. I can basically ensure that I am delivering value at the end of it. I am implementing accordingly, and it's actually meeting the objective of that particular project. So we are starting from things like the stakeholder engagement. We have to enjoy, we are engaging the stakeholders, the requirements elicitation, ensuring that we understand what the requirements is and all of that. How do we elicit requirements from our stakeholders? Then once we elicit these requirements, we need to analyze the requirements. Once we've done the analysis of the requirements, looking at, okay, does this basically help in terms of meeting the business? Can you trace it back to the objective of the project? Does it deliver value? Is it important? Is it not important? And this is an add-on if we can, and things like what is the impact of that particular requirement to the overall process and all of that, or even to the overall business as a whole. So once we've understood that and understanding that from where we are right now and how to get to where we want to get to, how do we get there? So coming up with things like the gap analysis and things like that. And then we then use that to then assess the solution that would help fulfill these requirements, and working with the project team and the business to build the design for that. Okay, and then moving on from that, we then look at, okay, what are the documentations and the sign off from the business, from the tech team? Who are the people that needs to sign? And this we would have done and identified at the beginning of the stakeholder, during the stakeholder engagement. We know who needs to sign our requirements, who needs to sign our documentation, who needs to agree with software, who your SME is, who you need to speak with, and things like that. And then that moves then from there into the delivery support and change management. So delivery support is basically looking at the dev team building whatever it is, or the business implementing whatever it is that you know that's been proposed and agreed upon. And then finally then looking at the realization. Did we meet what we wanted to meet, basically? And can we continue to improve on it? Are there bits and pieces that we need to add on onto the life cycle, onto the products that we have basically delivered for the business? Moving on to the next one. So that's basically an idea in terms of the life cycle. And here I've basically just broken that down. For a business analyst, the focus is bridging that regulatory, technical, and operational domains, making sure that you are the bridge, right, between them. So you are speaking with business, you are speaking with sometimes even the regulatory SME, you are speaking with technical team. You are that bridge, understanding what needs to be done and making sure that it is, you know, captured and basically interpreted to the dev team for them to be able to build it. So here, basically give it kind of like a breakdown. What are the key things that you're meant to be looking at? And when you look at it from an insurance point of view, you will be working with multidisciplinary teams. So underwriting, risk, IT, assurance, so many things that you would need to consider, which is why it is important that the analysis is done. Requirement analysis is done. Who does this in requirement, or what team does this requirement impact, basically? And also that basically works hand in hand also with the stakeholders as well. So it's possible that when you start your stakeholder engagement, you might not have a full list of your stakeholder of your stakeholders, but as things progress and as you begin to speak with different people, different stakeholders, you will then begin to kind of like build on what you've basically done and all of that. So that's why it is important that stakeholder management is done throughout the life cycle. You don't just do your stakeholder engagement, stakeholder management from the beginning. You have to manage stakeholder from the beginning of up until the end of the project. Okay. Now, looking at it from an insurance point of view, right? I've mentioned earlier, we're looking at it from a personal and personal lines and insurance, and the commercial insurance point of view. So what do we mean by personal insurance, which is a coverage that protects individuals, like I said earlier, somebody like me and you, where we buy, things like, life insurance, car insurance, home insurance, is protecting us against financial loss from risks such as in accident, illness, property damage, theft, all those bits, basically, right? And so once you understand what that insurance is about, what that type of insurance is about, that then helps you to understand the journey, the customer journey. So because if you're selling to a person, an individual, the journey is different to when you're selling to an organization, right? So what are the customer journeys that is involved in this? So it starts with the quote, purchase, claim, and the renewal. And that's how it is. So quote to purchase basically means that somebody, just like you and I, you go onto maybe a website, you want to buy car insurance, you put in all your details, you get a quote, basically. And then do you want to buy it or do you do not want to buy it? And then you decide to, okay, I'm going to proceed. This is the best for me. I'm going to proceed to buy that, right? That insurance and all of that and get that cover. Then the next stage is onboarding of that cover, basically, in terms of what, so when I say onboarding, when it comes to a personal insurance point of view, is what are the different details that we need from an insurance point of view that we need to send to the customer that's basically purchased this insurance, this cover from us, basically. So we basically send out all the documentation that's required and bits and pieces like that. And then throughout the life cycle of that particular, for that customer, that particular cover, there's policy servicing. It's possible that the customer might need to claim, and then do we want to renew and retain the customer, and then the customer support. So that looks at the end to end. So that's a different journey when you're thinking about it from a customer, from a commercial point of view. And so from a BA, for a BA, you need to be thinking about, how do people buy insurances? So that's how the organization is thinking about it. So the focus is the fast digital. Everybody's doing everything from a digital point of view now. So fast digital journeys, self-servicing apps, right? You don't have to wait till you get home to sit down on the computer, or you don't have to fill in a paper. Now, right there on your phone, you can do what you need to do, basically. Claims automation. How can you automatically automate your claims without you having to sit on the phone and speak with someone? So these are the things that insurance companies are thinking about. How to reduce timeline, how to reduce the FTE, that's the number of staffs that they have, how to ensure that things are done quicker, how to ensure that they get the clean data from there, because it's possible if it's over the phone, right? Say, the first notification of, for instance, if it's claim, the person that is typing in might miss out one or two details or errors while they're keying this in. How do they reduce that? Because all of these gives them clean data to be able to forecast, to be able to do all the things that they need to do, basically, right? Also looking at it from a BA, you're thinking about it from a regulatory alignment point of view. Whatever we are building, is there a regulatory aspect to that? As a BA, you need to be thinking about that. So when you look at the personal insurance point of view, it's high volume. A lot of us we have insurance, but the complexity of it is quite low. It's a straightforward journey. It's straight through. It's not something as cumbersome as when it comes to a commercial insurance, because it's kind of like standard, basically. So it's either you want to buy home insurance. How big is your home? How big is your house? You want to buy you want to cover for your vehicle. How big is what type of vehicle is it? All of these are easily defined, basically. But when we then look at it from a commercial point of view, right, we are now thinking about it from a different ball game altogether, right? So from commercial insurance, it's the type of coverage designed to protect businesses against financial losses from risks such as property damage, liability, employee-related, and business interruption, and a host of others. So for instance, if somebody is going to if an organization decides that they want to go to the moon, right, they want to sponsor going to the moon, or NASA, all of these bits, they do get insurances. They don't just go ahead and do that, right? So when you see a ship, a cargo ship on the sea, they have insurances. There's a submarine, there's an insurance. So there are insurances to every bits and pieces. So these are bespoke businesses, things that are, they're not like your usual everyday. So there's no one size fits all when it comes to a customer, when it comes to commercial insurance. This is the area that is more complex, right? These are the people that you would find in when you say London market. These are the kind of insurances that they sell there. It's not the personal insurance. Yep. And usually in this kind of insurance, there's always a broker involved. An insurance organization will not just sell directly to an organization. There's always a broker that's involved in this type of insurances. So when you look at the customer journey, they're looking at risk assessment and underwriting, right? How risky is this business? And so you can imagine, for instance, as an organization, let's use a big supermarket such as, or even Primark. Imagine the number of shops that they have, right? The number of people working with them. All of these are insured. So from a small business to a big business, all of these, so they are kind of bespoke. You can't say one size fits all for these. So you're looking to, so they need to be assessed based off, individually, because it's a bespoke cover that is being required. Then again, like I said, there's always broker. So there's the customer journey of broker interaction. How are we interacting with our brokers? Is it over the email, or do we want to digitalize things? These are the thought process that they're thinking about. Then policy customization, like I said, because these policies are bespoke, because they are bespoke, it is very key that, we have this policy customization in place, when it comes to commercial. Then claims management. So again, when you look at it from a commercial point of view, there are different types of journey where anyone can buy an insurance, right? You can buy insurance directly from, the broker can contact the insurance company directly for their clients, which is like a big organization. But sometimes even an organization can delegate the ability for them to be able, for another organization, another insurance company, to sell risk on their behalf, which is called delegated underwriting. So for instance, I'm giving you my pen to go and write risk on my behalf. So for instance, if you look at Tesco, you can see like a Tesco credit card, or you buy insurance from Tesco, right? If you read the little print, you will realize that they are actually not even the ones. It could be that there's another organization that they are selling the risk on, they are selling the cover on behalf of. And not that this not happens not just in the UK, it could even be international as well, depending on even the type of market and things like that. Then going to claims as well, same thing. Renewal and audit, and then loss prevention services as well. So these are the major journeys that we see when it comes to the commercial insurance point of view. And as a BA, you need to understand these basically as a business analyst. Apart from knowing if you want to be involved in the UK insurance market, you want to work, with an organization that that's got both private personal and commercial insurance. You need to understand the journey, the customer journey. What are the type of projects I can, that this organization might want to implement? What's the journey? How do they service their customers? How do they service their clients? And what are the key things that I need to be thinking about? So you need to understand. You don't have to be you don't have to know in depth, because they will have their subject matter experts within the business. But you need to be aware of the journey, at least have a knowledge of the journey. And then, so as a BA, you need to the key things that you might be thinking about focusing on is like the risk data, enterprise risk data. How are we getting data in from a risk point of view? And because that data is used for things like risk assessment and underwriting. What are the parametric triggers? What are the triggers? When it comes to MGAs, which is the what's it called now? Managing general agents. So managing general agents are we call them cover holders. These are people that can write risk on behalf of an insurance company. So say for instance, you're working with an insurance company such as let's say Aviva, right? And Aviva does not have the knowledge in terms of, let's say, Australia, right? They don't have the knowledge in terms of risk in Australia, and particularly it could even be something like submarine insurance or cyber insurance, right? And they want to sell that in that kind of space, in that kind of market, right? An MGA, which is also called a cover holder, meaning it could be a small insurance company that has the knowledge. They have the knowledge. They have the market. They are in the market already. They can then come to Aviva and say, you know what, I can sell risk on your behalf in my country. We got this particular type of cover. You just give me a certain percentage, and then you take the rest of the percentage, and all of that. So the insurer to be able to do anything in terms of that, they need to basically do an onboarding of that MGA. Onboarding is basically checking the risk assessment, also doing the due diligence on that cover holder to ensure that they want to do business with them. Also, you can also be thinking about things like underwriting risk assessment as well. When it comes to commercial insurance, it is very low volume. It's not as big as the everyday insurance, but the complexity of it is high. It is highly complex. So when someone that's why a lot of times when you see a job ad that says insurance, and they'll say London market experience, because it is a very complex market. It's a very complex, a lot of considerations. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that come into play when it comes to that. So moving on to the next, this is basically just comparing both of them. So as a BA, what are my key 5 focus areas when it comes to commercial insurance? Digitalization of the quote and buy experience, policy management, claims, personalization and communication, and retention and loyalty. These are the key things that they are looking at right now. These are the key things that for a BA that comes into contact, whether you're working in personal, when you're working in personal insurance space. These are the key things that you need to be aware of. If you want to get into this space as well, you need to understand that these are the key customer journey for insurance companies. And then from a commercial point of view, apologies, I have to rush because of my time. From a commercial point of view, again, the onboarding of so when we say customer here, it could be a broker, it could be a cover holder, right? The policy issuance and documentation, the claims experience, the renewals and midterm adjustments, and then customer and broker feedback integration. So digitalization of these things are the key things that they are basically looking at as well, using data. Data is the new gold, right? So I've just added this as well to kind of for you to have a view of what's the difference, right? In personal insurance, you're thinking about individuals and households, and products are things like motor, home, pet, travel, gadget insurance. But when it comes to commercial insurance, we're looking at the SME, small, medium enterprises to large corporations, right? And then we're looking at things like commercial liability, property, commercial property, professional indemnity, cyber, a whole lot of products, that is being sold in that space as well, depending on what their client wants. And then when you look at from a customer journey point of view, as explained earlier, when it comes to customer, the personal insurance is kind of like a quote and buy, policy management, claims, and things like that. And from a commercial point of view, you are looking at it from a broker submission, underwriting, because these are the really, really big organizations that cost millions, if not billions, policy binding, and then reporting as well. And so for a BA, what are the things that you need to consider, right? You need to be working with the digital, you'll be working with the digital teams, you'll be optimizing the conversion rate. How can we ensure that anybody that gets a quote buys from us, basically? And then what's the user experience while using the systems that we've built, or the journey? Build the journey that aligns with the FCA. So again, whenever they are building, it's important that as a BA, you're also thinking about it from a regulatory point of view. And then how do we get data that would help us inform things like pricing, fraud, renewals? How do we get data? Not just any data, but clean data coming in, because data then helps them to forecast, helps them to prevent. And this, obviously, data is what they're using for artificial intelligence now, isn't it? And then from a commercial point of view, it's the logic, the underwriting logic. This is the key thing when it comes to commercial insurance, right? It's not that you have to come up with the logic yourself. You will be working as a BA. I work with the SME and different teams, basically, to understand the major underwriting logic. What are the different scenarios that they want captured, and translating this into business requirements so that it can then be implemented into the system. Either we're doing an upgrade, or even if it's a new system, it needs to be implemented into that. And also have the ability to interface with systems. That there are different systems in the market now. Guidewire, Send, Salesforce. Salesforce is used for pretty much almost anything now, not just as its customer relationship management application, but also for onboarding. They're using it for so many things now. Understanding of the different models, so like delegated authority, the reporting standards for Lloyd's, and then also most of the time we do agile, a lot of agile, but sometimes when it comes to regulatory, it can fall to a waterfall, because we know what the regulation is and all of that, and then we can then scale due to the scale and the complexity of that as well. Do we have any questions at all? Do we have any questions?
No question. Okay. Someone has a question.
Please go ahead and ask.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Adefunke, for. Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, you are. I can hear
Can
you.
you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Adefunke, for such a lovely presentation. My question is this: going into the insurance world as a BA, does one need a prior experience in insurance, so to speak? Like, can a person that is completely new to insurance, who hasn't worked in an insurance company before, can the person confidently work as a BA in an insurance company?
Yes.
And if yes, what are the minimum, at least, or the barest minimum expectations that are, from that person? I would love to know. Thank you.
Okay. So yes, my answer is yes. You can, but majority of the organizations that will take you rather that will take you, they will take you into in their personal insurance space, because like I said, it's less complex. Do you get what I mean? It's less complex, unlike the commercial insurance. So and then once you are in there, right, you can then find your way to the commercial insurance space. That was my experience. That was what I did, basically. And it's based off of, so what's the, we said, what's the minimum to get in, right? Know your bit. As simple as that. If you are a BA, right, do you know everything? And remember at the beginning, I looked at the life cycle. Can you confidently go through that life cycle? And then that's the first thing. Secondly, can you demonstrate during your interview that you know what you're doing? And then thirdly, have an understanding of the insurance space. Know what it's about. Have an understanding, be aware. So for instance, if I want to go into a space for energy, for instance, gas, energy, I will need to understand how energy works. What are the different projects, like the customer journey? And I guess this is one of the reasons why we're having this session right now, for you to start thinking about it. If what are the information I need to gather? What do I need to know from, barest minimum, basically, if you've never worked in insurance before? How does insurance work, basically? And when it comes to personal insurance, what's the customer journey? And then can you defend your knowledge when it then comes to interviewing? Because that's basically the major thing, isn't it? You will find people that they don't even know much, but they can talk their way through through interviewing. And then the most important thing is, once you get in, you are able to increase your knowledge, get your hands dirty, do the work. Do you understand what I mean? Does that answer your question?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Yes.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions? If not, I will proceed. So this is just a quick view. So in terms of the customer type, the complexity, how do they, the sales channel, so direct or aggregator, commercial, we're looking at from a broker or intermediaries. What's the journey type? Usually, when it comes to personal insurance, is always digital first. Commercial insurance, you still have a bit of manual, but digital is kind of like an hybrid. And for BA, what's your focus? You're focusing on the UX. You're looking at speed, conversion, and the customer journey. And then from a commercial point of view, you're thinking about it from a data rule configuration point of view. And then you've got different systems that you can use. Jira, Figma, Bodro systems, policy admin system. So as I said, when it comes to the commercial space, the journey is, depending on the journey is kind of complex, as opposed to when it comes to personal insurance point view. Now, I just included this slide, and I wanted you to start thinking about, so with the way the market is going, one needs to start thinking about the use cases. For when I say use cases, how can they use insurance during artificial intelligence in insurance? Because this is what gives birth to projects right now. This is what is giving birth to a lot of projects right now. So as a BA, you need to be aware of, one, how artificial intelligence works, and secondly, in the customer journey, what are the possible use cases that I can see, basically, when I'm in that space. So if we look at it from a personal insurance point of view, we are looking at quotes to buy and quotes to purchase. Like I said, somebody goes online, they look for whatever. Now they're now introducing chatbots for instant quotes, basically, that you don't have to wait for the system. It will basically just give it a few words, and then it gives you what you want. And then also looking at the AI-driven recommendation engines for personalized policy suggestions. So based off of, you have XYZ with me, and you said you have XYZ, maybe you should be thinking about XYZ, basically, right? During that journey for the customer. And then also during onboarding, once the person has purchased the insurance, you're then looking at how to then process the document using OCR, so which is called optical character recognition or natural language processing, basically. So the AI basically just scans the documents and basically just comes up with what's required. And then also virtual assistants to guide setup for the customer. So for, depending on the age group and things like that. Again, they're also then thinking about AI-powered self-servicing tools, right? And then predictive analytics for upselling and cross-selling. So these are the different use cases that businesses are basically thinking about, insurance organizations are thinking about implementing within their customer journey, right? And when it comes to claims, what are the other projects that I can come across? I come across image recognition for damage assessment, basically meaning that the customer will basically just need to hold their phone up and scan they'll be able to scan maybe it's a vehicle or whatever, and then basically just gives them a damage assessment, tells them instantly how long it looks like it's going to take for that to be repaired, or if it's not going to be repaired, if it's a total loss and things like that. From there as well, thinking about things like fraud, this looks like a fraudulent claim. So building those models, detection models at the back that can easily flag a claim and say this looks like a fraudulent claim because XYZ, it doesn't match XYZ and all of that. Then also natural language processing for claim form processing as well. So these are the things that they are thinking about that you can come across. So understanding of AI is very key, and how you can use it within the journey is also good for you to understand if you're looking to go into that space as well. So coming back to the commercial aspect of it as well, looking at AI-powered broker portals with smart quoting. So meaning that I can quickly generate a quote when the broker has sent me some documentation. I can easily, the system AI will easily basically just scan through what is sent, come up with a quote quickly instead of having to wait a week, 2 weeks for the for the organization, for the insurance company to go back with a quote and all of that. Because like I said, it's bespoke, isn't it? They're looking at things like policy and the customization, claims management. So in all of this journey, there's also an introduction now of artificial intelligence that is now being introduced into that as well, into that journey. So when you're thinking about the journey, if you have a good understanding of artificial intelligence and you have a good understanding of the customer journey, that puts you in a very good space. And if you're already in that space and you're not thinking of artificial, you're already in insurance sector and space, and you're not thinking of artificial intelligence, then you need to start thinking about that, because it is very key. Because in this, it's important that that you have a good understanding. Okay, so what are the tools and what are the skills and tools that you require basically as an insurance BA? You need to have a domain knowledge. I think I talked about earlier, right? You need to have an understanding of the domain. When it comes to personal insurance, when it comes to commercial insurance, you need to have an understanding of the domain, basically. And thank God for ChatGPT. Thank God for the new, what's it called, for AI. We can't get this understanding. You need to upskill yourself, basically. So it depends whether or not you're working in personal lines, commercial lines, specialized areas. You need to know as a BA the domain knowledge. At least you don't have to be an expert, but at least have a good understanding. And then how analytical are you? Basically, you're thinking, then you need to also be thinking about, if you're not good with stakeholders, you need to get good with stakeholders, because you need to manage stakeholders. Yes, that's one of the key things for us. If your stakeholder blocks what you're doing, if your stakeholder is a blocker, you cannot proceed. So it's important that you have an understanding of who your stakeholders are and then manage them effectively throughout the life cycle of the project. And then the requirement engineering as well. You need to be able to look at the requirements, do some analysis on the requirements, look at, this is not it, this is it, and things like that. Process modeling and mapping, as we are aware, using BPMN or whatever model that you want to use, using different tools such as VCO, Lucy charts, whatever tools that Miro that you are used to as well. This is very key, that because you need to be able to do a process flow, or even if it's just a use case diagrams. All of these things you need to know. Communication, you need to be able to communicate and facilitate workshops, because these are where you will get your requirements from. You will talk, sometimes depending on the type of technique you want to use, it's either interviewing, or you're doing a workshop, or you are doing a survey. All of these things you need to have a good understanding of. Solution assessment, you need to be able to assess the solution that is being sent. So what do I mean by solution assessment? This is the requirement, and this is the solution that the vendor is proposing. Can can the solution match the requirement? Can it fulfill the requirement? And can you trace your requirement back to the objective of the project? Traceability, forward and backward traceability, basically. And then also be aware of data analysis. You don't necessarily need to know it, but know it, be a guru, but and also MI awareness, understanding of the delivery methodology, either Agile or Waterfall, and then what are the regulations that impact insurance organizations, people, within that space. What are and the risk awareness, understanding of what's happening in the market, basically, is very important. Moving on quite quickly, and that's what the next few slides I have is basically breaking down of the life cycle that we talked about at the beginning, where we looked at the stakeholder engagement requirements, for you to elicit requirements, the requirements analysis and things like that. So I'm just going to breeze through this because I'm mindful that we don't have much time. Who are our stakeholders when it comes to personal insurance? You have like the marketing team, the product owners, underwriters, claims, digital team, your developers, your customers. They are the ones. Yes. Do you have any question?
Yes. So we have a few questions here, and
Okay.
I'm gonna them. Jimmy, your hand is up. Do you want to ask a question?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Adefunke, for the presentation. I do appreciate that the insurance industry is heavily is regulatory and risk heavy.
Yes.
And I see in the slides as well, like for example, the AI space, of course. That speaks to a lot of risk as well. So I just want to understand, especially from the commercial insurance space, is there any specified risk frameworks or templates that the commercial insurance will follow, or is it relative to the organization? Like would the organization have to build out their risk register or log, for example, or is there a specified framework, like an enterprise framework, that they will follow?
Okay, I just stopped sharing so that I can just basically come back to camera and then we can talk. Yeah. Okay. Are we still there?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So
yes,
the answer to your question, thank you for that question. So the answer to your question is it's basically left to the organization. It depends on the strategy of that organization, and secondly, their risk appetite. So company insurance A might be risk averse, right? While another insurance organization is basically, they don't mind. Do you understand what I mean? So when it comes to the risk framework, right, the key thing is, one, what's the strategy of that organization, one, and secondly, what's their appetite for risk? What's their appetite for risk? And that then, in looking at that, right, they also need to think about it from a regulatory point of view as well. What does regulation, what does the FCA, what does the PRA, what does Lloyd's of London, what do they advise, or what's their regulation that undermines that, basically covers that? Do you get what I mean? So yes. I cannot decide that I want to, okay, so for instance, in insurance, there's a certain amount that they need to keep somewhere, right? They need to keep that somewhere, regardless of, they cannot touch that funds. Once the funds come in, they cannot touch that funds. But they can then decide that, do you know what, I want to have more, but they cannot have less. So that funds that they must have, it's a regulatory bet, basically. It's to protect the consumers.
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean? So
yes.
When it comes to risk framework, it depends on the organization. But obviously, they would want to ensure that it aligns with the regulatory standards.
Yes.
And then obviously they are shareholders and all of that. Also, all those things are put in place. But there is no standard regulatory framework for all insurers. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so thank you for that. Adefunke. There's another question here from Michael. And Michael said, what other techniques can be used to understand company in full depth and how it's delivered value to customer?
I think that like the standard techniques, right? So for instance, you might want to do a benchmarking, you might want to do deep analysis of the organization and all of that. So, and then again, you want for you to know if it's delivering value to their customers. It's basically a case of their customers saying it. So when you go on, like, thank God for internet, right? We go on Trustpilot, you will see recommendations from their customers can help with that view. So it's relative. So for instance, for me, I might say, oh, this insurance company is actually good for me. It's giving me what I need. But for someone else, it might not. It doesn't give them enough. So it's basically relative to a person. But for you to be able to know, there's a lot of techniques that you can use, such as benchmarking and all of that. Even the organization themselves, they might want to use SWOT analysis, right? They want to look at their strengths, they want to look at their weaknesses and all of that. The opportunities that they can get into, they want to look at threats. It's all relative to them, basically.
Right. Okay. Michael, I hope that answered your question. So going back to Yemi said, when you talked about forward and backward traceability, do you mean using RTM to trace requirements?
Yes. So it all depends on, so RTM is, for those that are not aware, is a requirement traceability matrix. You can decide to use yours in Excel, right? It's your choice. You can decide, this is my requirements. So it depends, and then again, depending on the organization you're working with, right? The organization I work with, Jira, you can easily, and Confluence, you can basically use that as a traceability. Basically, I can go in Confluence, put my requirement, do a table, put my requirements there, link that to the Jira table, to the Jira, so you can see on the table where it links. Also upload against that my process flow, right? And then at the end of it, once we've delivered and then we have a working system, I can also link that in. So I'm starting from what the project is about, the project of the objective, right? And then, which is at the beginning. And then I have my requirements from my, from my stakeholders, that I ensure that is giving me what the project objective is about, right? So traced, right? Then when I'm building, I have I've translated my requirements into user stories, epics, and all of that. I then trace that back to each of the requirements, and the requirements traces back to the objective, right? And then once I'm doing my testing, once I've got the test scripts and everything, and then you have the test. If you're using Jira, you have the test tickets and everything. Also link that into the user story, the user story to the epic to the requirements to the objective. And then when I have a working document, a working product, right? I've built value. Again, I do that, and I'm linking that in. I can have screenshots. I can have process flows. I hope that. So if you look at it from a point of, I'm doing it like the forward, and then I'm also doing it backward as well.
Okay. Good stuff. So I hope that answers your question, Yemi. Then 2 contributions from James. Yes. James said he's in the energy sector. That's good. So he said understanding how data within a process is captured, stored, and retrieved can also be beneficial. Then James said analysis from different views or lens is so key. Business process, functional software, and data information. All right. Do you have any other question before we move on? Any other person? Okay, so back to you.
So I will continue to share screen. Okay. So again, what's the major focus for you as a BA when you are thinking about stakeholder engagement from a personal insurance point of view? So you are looking at it from a customer-centric engagement, right? So whereby you're then facilitating workshops with marketing, products, UX to reflect the customer's voice, basically, ensuring that you are capturing things from a customer point of view. Okay, you can use things like journey maps, personas, and things like that. Okay. Again, regulatory engagement, making sure that we're working quite closely as a BA with the compliance/legal team on treating customers fairly, and then also consumer duty as well, ensuring that you're asking the question, whether you're sure or not, ask the question, is there anything that I am missing, or should I be considering this, or what are the I need to be considering? This is what my project is about, basically. And that covers you off from a regulatory point of view. For every project and every area, there will be one person or two or a couple of people that is allocated for your particular program or project when it comes to this bits. And then again, agile stakeholder management basically means that it's when you're getting them involved, either from a business and IT point of view, backlog grooming, your user story refinement, demo reviews, and all of that, making sure that the stakeholders are carried along. Don't just take them to the demo when they've not been involved in the requirements and all of that. And you understand what I mean? They just suddenly say, oh, this is what you're going to have issues at that point. And then ensuring that there is that continuous feedback loop. During demo, they'll give you feedback. You add that to you add that to your backlog, and things like that as things progress. And then again, from a commercial point of view, who are your stakeholders? You are looking at the underwriters, the brokers, if there's a delegated authority team, the manager there, the compliance, the data analyst, legal team, IT teams, claims. These are all the teams that you will find in there, and even much more, basically. Just to go back to what James said about data, data is key from both a personal and commercial point of view, but more so from a commercial point of view. The reason being that currently in the market, data that they have is very bad data. They're not capturing good data at the moment. So for a lot of organizations, the key focus is to get clean data. Clean data is key for them because this is the bedrock of their risk engine in building all of these bits, basically. Now, what do you need to focus on? Broker engagement. How easy can I make the life of the underwriters easy when it comes to engaging of the broker? So understanding the end-to-end submission process. Okay, how do brokers get in touch at the moment, and how do we want to? Because, like I said, usually commercial insurance is via a broker. Okay, and then you then capturing the broker pain points. For instance, manual keys, a lot of manual when it comes to commercial. Slow quote turnaround. Like I said, for you to get a quote can take weeks, right? There's no transparency and all of that. There's no standard, basically. But now organizations, companies are beginning to put that standard in place to ensure that they're getting clean data, they are servicing their broker, they're making the life of their broker easy, basically. Then also when it comes to if there's a delegated authority aspect, ensuring that you are having sessions with them, facilitating workshops, getting standardized data templates, automation ingestion, and all of these bits. And then finally, the regulatory bit as well, engaging with the legal people that are involved in that area as well. What are your techniques for effective engagement? So stakeholder mapping, using the power influence grid, Risi, who gets to pick what, workshops and interviews. I'm sure we're all, that we need to basically get the requirements from. Now, moving on to the next one, I'm going to breeze through because I'm mindful of time. Requirement elicitation from that bit as well. It's still the same. Like I said, it's the standard life cycle, right? But ensuring that you are looking at it from a customer journey point of view, because these are the customer when it comes to insurance. So for sake of those that just put a bit of what elicitation is about, it's not just about requirements gathering. You're not just collecting requirements, right? It's about understanding what the business truly needs. What exactly is the need? It's not just, oh, I want X, Y, Z. It's not that we are taking orders. We're not maids that we take orders. We understand the problem. Excuse me. And then we then try to help them to articulate that into requirements and what they really need. What are you trying to achieve, basically? What are you trying to achieve? So you're not just there to collect requirement from people, basically. It's basically understanding what the problem is, what they are trying to, and all of that. And I've basically just put here that what exactly is the purpose of this? You need to capture, to define, and analyze the business and system requirements, right? Across personal insurance domain. So if you're looking at it from a journey point of view, right? You have to look at it from a journey point of view. You have to look at it of the focus area. So if I'm thinking about it from a buy, quote to buy or quote to purchase point of view, my customer is going to be using a system. They're going to be using a screen. How easy do I want things? How easy do I want them to just do things on one page? It's easy for them, seamless, and all of that. I can easily do enrichment based off of the history that they have on their date, on their phone, or where they've been to, and things like that. I can auto populate fields and things like that. Or do I want them to take their time and start typing in? Those are the things that you need to be thinking about, basically. And then what are your activities? Again, the same thing. You're facilitating workshops and user interviews. You are capturing the epics. When you get your requirements, you then make it into epics, user stories, and acceptance criteria. But also identifying the regulatory. A lot of people tend to forget regulatory and non-functionals. It's important that you're also capturing these requirements as well, the regulatory and non-functional requirements as well. And then I've basically just put here, what are the different use cases that you can have? Example, so you are designing like a mobile quote journey for travel insurance. You identify the conflicting interpretation of pre-existing condition disclosures. Your requirements must reflect from legal clarity and customer usability. You don't want it to get too technical that they cannot use it. So when business wants to start telling you technical things, you need to basically stop them and say, think about it from a customer. They would not understand this jam. How can we simplify this? When you're working with the UX, or even if you are the UX, right? You are none of that. How can we design it that it's easy? It's understandable. They can easily breeze through it without wasting time. And then we've got the different techniques, obviously the user story writing, frameworks. What is key in terms of priority? So using the Moscow prioritization technique. Personal insurance as well, moving on to that quite quickly. Almost same thing. You're thinking about it from a broker, underwriting workflow, large loss claim processing. Because for instance, just imagine from a commercial point of view, right? If there's a large cargo ship and that sinks. So imagine the large cargo ship that is carrying exotic cars, luxury cars. Imagine the amounts that they would need to pay out when it comes to claims. So it's not a small 3,000, 4,000 pounds that we receive. There's like an accident and things like that. This run into millions. And that's why usually insurance companies don't go head on covering one business alone. It's usually done in conjunction with other businesses, right? So that cargo, for instance, you could have an insurance of maybe 1 billion on it, even more than that, right? Because some cars now, God knows how many millions of pounds, right? They can then go to, you could have 4 different insurance companies or 5 or 10 insuring just that one cargo. So the organization you're working on could be the lead in that, or they could be the follow. So it's either they are the lead or the follow, meaning that there's a lead insurer and then you have the other insurers that take parts out of it. Or they are the ones that the main insurer and then you have others. So I can decide that as a lead, I can take 20% of that cover, while another insurance company will take another 10%, another can take 20%, another can take 25%, up until the 100%. And that is where the broker comes in. The broker is the one that will then go to these different insurance companies and says, okay, I have a client, and I've gotten XYZ organization, they want to cover this. Are you willing to cover? How many percentage are you willing to cover? And all of that. So again, when it comes to claim processing as well, it is going to go across all of them as well. So that is why it is highly complex as well. Okay, and then again, what are the traceability? So just like you mentioned, the requirement traceability matrix, the same bits and pieces that we use in today's world. I'm just going to skip this. This is just basically saying, regardless of the insurance project you are working on, what do you need to know? The product, regardless of the product line, the delivery model, stakeholder type, customer journey, and all of that. Just make sure that you tailor your approach based on regulatory impact and customer type. It's important that you balance it, not from just a quantitative, but also a qualitative part as well, so that there's a good understanding. And then you always link your elicitation back to the business. Like I said, your requirements must link back to your business objective. It must. And then you iterate and validate constantly. You're checking constantly with your stakeholders, and we're still on the same page, carrying them along at every point in time. So this basically just gives you when to use the different techniques for elicitation. So I'm just going to skip that. And then we have the different tools that we've got: collaboration tools, diagram, documentation, and all of that. So I'll just skip that. The next one then looks at the analysis. Basically, what do you do in this part? You're basically looking at the requirements and the current journey, the current assets, the current state of the organization and the requirements, and then using that, and then looking at the to be, and then looking at how do we get from the assist to the to be. Basically, you're identifying the gap from the current state to the desired state. And then, so here we're looking at things like, process mapping, gap analysis, and then requirement validation and prioritization. Basically, these are the key things. So, example is when you're you're launching a digital claim portal. I'm looking at my current state. I'm identifying the different gaps, and then okay, this is where we want to get to. Basically, I'm capturing business rules because I want to add business rules for automated triage. So I need to implement that. So these are the questions. It's a case of asking questions upon questions upon questions. Okay. Again, same thing from a commercial lens point of view. We are looking at it from a process mapping, gap analysis, and requirement validation and prioritization point of view as well. The next stage is the solution assessment and design, basically. Okay. So now, what's the aim of this is to evaluate the solution options. So we have vendor A, B, C, D, right? And this is what we are trying to get to. Which of the vendor or which of the applications is going to meet the requirements? As simple as that. And then you then focus on the alignment with business goals, the customer journey improvement, the technical and operational feasibility, and then finally the compliance, the regulatory compliance aspect, excuse me. Again, here, I put here the different tools and perspectives that you need to be thinking about when you are considering this as well. How easy is it? Will it be easy for both the internal and external users to use? Right? What's the type of solution? Is it is it digital portal? Is it commercial off the shelf? And all of that. What's the technical? How can I integrate it currently, seamlessly with the current architectural landscape within the organization? Is it easy to integrate or not? And then looking at it from the regulation, does it meet the regulations? And then user-friendly UI, and then the other bits there as well. Same thing as here, we're looking at the same data management, structured data versus unstructured data, operational data exchange between the broker system, the insurance system, the uploads, and things like that. Do we need third-party integration? What is key? And all of those, so those are the things that you need to be thinking about and having that conversation when it comes to designing, as well as the vendor assessment, basically. And the key solution assessment and design deliverables. What will you be delivering? They can ask you to come up with a solution pack, basically options pack. So you would then have solution A, B, C, and then these are the models or the the functionalities that they have, and this is the percentage of how it's going to meet. So the pros and cons of this, basically. And then you then think about it as well from a design point of view, from a feasibility point of view, from a cost benefits. Do we have the money? Yeah, this is fantastic. It's going to do it, but our project is only this certain amount. We cannot cover it. Does it meet regulatory fit? Does it meet security bits as well in terms of the organization, right? Documentation and sign off. I think we talked about this earlier. What's the stage? The stage for me is to cover my back. And then so that even when I'm no longer on the project, or if anybody calls me down the line and says, why did you implement this? Oh, somebody signed for it. And then there's that's there. Again, that's also part of traceability as well. This is this person's requirements. This is stakeholder A's requirements. And this is the approval for the stakeholder and all of that. So documenting that. So you must collaborate with the business, the tech and compliance team. In fact, most of the business teams that are involved in the journey, you will need to collaborate with as well. It's the standard, it's the same same bit that we do, right? Whatever type of document that you want to, generate as well, either from a commercial or personal point of view. You're thinking about data requirements, then you need data dictionary, basically. You need data dictionary. You might even need data mapping if there is an integration involved, right? So that when the API, when you're basically building the API and confirming the API and doing the testing of the API, you can use that data mapping sheet to ensure that it actually meets your requirements and things like that. So you could get sign off from a steering group or a board. It could be from, you need to make sure that you get sign off from underwriting, the governance team, and then also you could also even get from a broadcast or distribution team buying, where there is a customer, facing elements to things as well. Again, I'm just going to skip that. I'm so mindful of time. Delivery, as a BA, we support end-to-end, right? We don't say, oh, I've done my requirements, that's it, right? When you are building the solution, you have to be there to clarify with the team. You have to support them so that they understand the story, they understand the acceptance criteria. What is the definition of ready? What is the definition of done? When they are testing, right, does it meet? Because the test manager will probably come to you and say, these are the test scenarios I've put together. Is this supposed to work this way? While testing is working this way, is this supposed to work this way? And then if there is a defect, so that you can easily put that into sprints, into the backlog, prioritize what bugs that needs to be fixed as soon as, if there's any change request, you need to also be thinking about that as well. And then at the same time, we're getting the business ready as well, okay? Training materials. You will probably be working, if you're not the one putting that together, you might be working with a change manager to help them put together, because you have built the system, you know it, you have an understanding of how it's meant to work, helping them to basically understand what the training should look like, what they should cover in the training, and also any comms and things like that. So again, same thing for both aspects as well. What are the techniques that you need? Traceability matrix, you need to be able to do that. UAT text pack, change impact assessments, the comms and training decks. Stand-ups, you will be engaging. If it's agile delivery, you will be engaging in obviously all of the ceremonies that we do in agile as well. And then again, this is kind of like a comparison of your role, right? Looking at it from a testing, end user, readiness, change, and risk aspects as well. What are your key skills? You need to be adaptable, because change can happen at any time, right? You need to be flexible and adapt. You need to be able to respond to change, and things will evolve mid-delivery. Communication is important, that you are communicating. You're liaising with the delivery team, the dev team, the training team, the business, everybody. You are talking to everybody. You are communicating clearly. Analytical thinking. Can I think through this? So when there's a triage of the test, can I think, what's the root cause? What could be the problem? They've done everything they've done right? But you then have to then think deep in terms of, why is it not working? This is where you come in as well. Again, you have to have an understanding of the business. Understand what change means for the front line. What does it mean? What the projects I am working on, how does it impact the people that are going to be working on it? What's the impact? What do they need to know? Understanding their pain points, and then obviously going through empathy as well. You have to be empathetic, because when it comes to these guys are already doing something, you can have someone that's been working on a particular process for 20 years, and you just come from nowhere and say, oh, we're not going to do that. We're going to introduce this. We're going to change this. So having people management skill is very important, and that helps with stakeholder management as well. And then this basically looks at the final stage, which is the benefit realization. After I have built and I've shipped my working product, right? Do I just say, oh, that's it? No. Still again, a BA's job doesn't stop at delivery. We must ensure value is realized and enhanced over time. So it's possible that even after your closure of project, they might still drag you in to say, it doesn't look like we are realizing benefits, because they said this is what we thought it's going to be, but it doesn't look like. Maybe it might just need some continuous improvement and all of that. It can be a BAU change. It can be a business as usual change, basically. And you have to think about it from you have to be doing activity that you as a BA will do, is a post-implementation review. You are assessing using data. This is where data is, like I said at the beginning, that data is the new gold, is the new thing. right? You need to use data. You can't just not someone's assumption. Benefits tracking. How can I track it? This is what we said that we're going to deliver. This is what the project said is going to give us as a from the key performance index and all of that. But now this is the actual thing. So we said it's going to reduce call center volume by 60%, but it's only reduced it by 35%. Why? Then is it that where is it? Is it getting? Where are we getting it wrong? What's the issue? And all of that. Again, customer feedback loop as well, for you to gain insight, and then you then have this iterative roadmap. Propose. You might even need to be the one to propose based off of what's happening in the real world. You can say, do you know what? This is the new key thing. I've done a bit of research. Can we try and think about implementing this? Maybe this will help meet our objective or even improve and all of that. And then you then have playback sessions with different teams. Playback sessions. So when you deliver a working product, right? You need to have playback sessions with them to understand, is there anything that they feel like could be included and things like that, even to the wider business, not just the team that you think is going to be using it, but because there's always an impact down the line. Commercial insurance, again, it's the same thing as well. Are we looking at, we are talking about to our broker, are they happy? Basically, the underwriting quote turnaround. Are we, we said we're going to reduce the timeline for 1 week or 2 weeks to now 3 days. Is it doing that, or is it not? And all of that. What are the key skills that you think? Again, here, analytical thinking, stakeholder engagement. You have to be innovative. You have to think outside of the box. As a BA working insurance, you have to be able to think outside of the box. Documentation, because it's so complex. Documentation is very key. Yet we say that agile, we don't need documentation. That's a lie. You need, and this is where the traceability comes in as well. Whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you are documenting it, basically, because it would need to be referred to. Somebody might need to learn from it as well for continuous learning log and all of that. And then you then track performance. So just, course correction actions. If things are not going the way they're meant to go, how do you think we can correct it? Do we need to tweak 1 or 2 things from what we've delivered? And bear in mind that your project might not necessarily mean that you are delivering an IT system. It could be a process improvement project where you are thinking about it from a people and the culture point of view. It could be that you are involved in the target operating model. So you are thinking about it from people, process, and technology point of view. So it's not just necessarily that, it's not that, oh, it has to be an IT, I'm delivering an IT system. No, you could be engaged in, just process. But also, like, for instance, my current project, I'm not only doing process, right? I'm doing a bit of a business architecture, trying to help them define what the business architecture should look like to meet market standards. And then at the same time, I'm helping them with business, processes, streamlining their business processes so that it's seamless, it delivers on time. There's no time wasting from onboarding all the way through down to the downstream systems, and then using that business process to then using a tech to wrap around that to make life easy for the people working there as well as the clients as well. So it's possible that you can be from a process and a business architecture process, strategy definition. You can be involved in everything, or it can just be one aspect of it as well. Okay. And what are the teams in terms of improvements, ongoing improvement? You can think about it from a customer. You need to think about it from a customer focus, the metrics, the innovation and enhancement. What's happening in the market? You need to be current in the market. Basically, you need to be current, and that basically comes to the end of my slide.
Wow. Can we just throw in our emojis here? Round of applause for that is robust. That is in-depth information you can get. Thank you, Funke. Thank you for doing justice to this. Thank you for your time. We're happy to learn from your knowledge base. So please, if you have any question, you can unmute your mic now and ask your question. If you don't want to talk, you can drop your question.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Yemi. I know I do apologize. This is like a few weeks course cramped into one into an hour 30 minutes.
I know, right? I know, right? So a quick one. Let's do this. Yes, I just pinned our LinkedIn profile there. Please follow her. If you have any other question you want to ask or you want to connect, please do so. And I also dropped some information right there. If you can watch our session on YouTube at the back community, you can also learn about what we do. For new people that are just joining us today, I said that Dobak is a vibrant space, dedicated to aspiring and professional business analysts, and we just try our best to ensure that we enhance your skills and also help you navigate, through your career journey, with confidence. So if you want to join our community, I've also pinned that right there. You can join our community. I would love to have you there. We have a whole lot going on there. Okay. So I can see energy industry next. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So thank you so much, Adefunke. I enjoyed the session. It's such a big one for me and it's quite insightful. I'm sure most people here they've gained 1, 2, or 3 things. And also you've broadened their knowledge about the insurance industry. So thank you very much. And I hope that the next time I call on you, you're going to come.
Thanks, everyone.
All
Thanks
right.
for tuning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, guys. And it's a wrap from our end today. Yes, if you want to follow us and know the next industry, because now we started this in January. And in January, it was quite a robust one. But going forward, we've tailored, our webinar series to different domains. So if you want to get the right information, real-time information, I will tell you to follow us on LinkedIn and also join our community. That will be a big plus for you. Okay, please don't forget to connect with Adefunke. I've pinned our LinkedIn profile there. Yes, somebody's raising his hand. Yemi, please ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. David, for this fantastic session.
Yes, please.
Honestly, I've attended so many sessions, and I can confidently tell you this one is quite different and unique. Thank you. I joined your WhatsApp group. I just want to know because I've attended your sessions twice, and
Okay.
I really loved what I witnessed. So please, I want you to engage people in your WhatsApp group more often so that we can
Okay.
get enough information. And I'm also following your LinkedIn so that, of course, I can benefit from what Dobag has got to offer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Yemi. Thank you for your feedback. That's a good one. So if you want to follow me as well on LinkedIn, my name is there, David Odepidan. You can follow me on LinkedIn and also connect with me. I would love to connect with you personally. Okay. Thank you for attending this session, and it's a wrap. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.